Welcome back, Seb here. Today I'm gonna try to rank Tom Waits' studio albums. I will not be including the early years, volume 1, which is very interesting, and early years, volume 2. The basis of these are more or less stripped down versions of songs that ended up on this debut album and other songs not released. I'm not adding One from the Heart, which is a soundtrack, Tom Waits and Crystal Gale. There are a couple of interesting songs on it, but it doesn't belong in the ranking. I'm not ranking Big Time, which was a live document, and to me this is kind of the bonus disc of his trilogy with Frank's Wild Years and Sword Trombone Fish and Rain Dogs. So if you like those albums, you should be checking out Big Time. I'm not ranking Night on Earth, which also is a movie soundtrack. There are very little vocals on this, but there are one or two songs with vocals, which is really good. Of course, I'm not adding Glitter and Doom live, which is a very good live document. And he plays stuff from a lot of 80s stuff and a lot of newer stuff. It's a good live album. And if I could have added the extravagant 3-disc Orphans, I could in a way added them as singular albums as they are, Brawlers, Ballers and Bastards. But this is sort of a compilation of unreleased material and rarities. And if I were to add this to my ranking, it surely would be in my top 5. So let's start. At the bottom, it is Foreign Affair, and many fans seems to agree with me that this is his least liked solo album. My problem with this is overall it is too safe, but it includes the fantastic Burma Shave, so even if it's at my bottom, I wouldn't totally ignore this album. Then we get Nighthawk at the Diner, which some claims is a live album, and yes it is, but it is recorded live in studio. So of course I'm adding this to my ranking list. Some people don't, some people do. I added it. There are a lot of, what shall I say, intros to the songs. And if I count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there are 10 minutes of just non-music on it. I believe when this was released on vinyl, it was a double album. And it's not a bad album. I could easily play this album all the way through with no problem. It is a decent album. When it comes to Tom Waits, I think it's kind of hard ranking his stuff, because as you see here, I've placed a lot of his early albums at the bottom, which is a shame in a way, because these albums are very good. They are very interesting. Again, an album I have no problem playing from start to finish. But there are better things to come. in my opinion. Of course, you will not agree with me with everything, and that's alright. Next up, Blue Valentine. And this is kind of one of his last 70s albums, where a lot of it is based on piano and his drunken or quasi-drunken vocal stylings. This is a very decent album. There are no bad songs on this overall. Again, an album which flows very nicely. It's a good one. Then we get Small Change, also one of his last 70s albums. This one was I think 77, released in 1977. 76, recorded 76, yeah, 76, alright. Maybe they released it the year after. And I have to mention the song "The Piano Has Been Drinking," because I think that was one of his first well-known songs. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he performed that tune a lot. Next, Some People's Bottom, Other People's Top. I place it here, somewhere nicely in the middle. And I think this was a ballet commissioned by the same person who commissioned other things we'll come to very soon. The Black Rider, it is like you could say it's circus music gone awfully wrong. But that's just a cheap way of trying to explain the concept and the music and the overall album. I like it very much. But I wouldn't start, if you're new to Tom Waits, I would never tell you to start with the Black Rider. We move on. Next, his debut album, Closing Time. This is to me the best of his 70s album, because he kind of does everything he's supposed to do. And many of his later 70s albums are more or less in this vein. Maybe this album is a little bit monotonous, but in a good way. You should check out his song Old 55, which is a great opening. And the entire album here is, in fact, a very beautiful journey. Next, I could not, for the love of God, choose between Blood Money and Alice, which both were released at the same time in 2002, I believe. Alice is more is a piece he worked on a lot during, I believe, during the 90s, early 90s, and it is a very good album from start to finish. It's a good album, but again, I don't think I would recommend anyone starting with this album. Blood Money is a little bit rougher, a little more demonic, maybe. It's also a very good album, and yeah, maybe you could start with this album. I'm not sure. I have no problem playing through this album. Every song is good, just like with Alice. it tells a story, and I won't spoil too much. Alright, next up I place Heart Attack and Wine, released in 1980. And this is sort of his blues rock album, something like that. I love the title cut, Heart Attack and Wine. I like Downtown, Jersey Girl, Mr. Seagull. I like everything on this album. There are some really good guitar playing on this album. And this is Tom Waits' last album before he met his muse, which played him a lot of Captain Beefheart and avant-garde music. And she probably was his inspiration to go a little more experimental in the 80s. Next up, it's Bone Machine. And I think this is where I personally can say this is Tom Waits as I love him. or this is Tom Waits where I would say this is a 10 out of 10. Earth Died Screaming, Dirt on the Ground, Such a Scream, Who Are You, Jesus Gonna Be Here, Murder in the Red Barn, Whistle Down the Wind, I Don't Want to Grow Up. It is a masterpiece. Who am I kidding? But again, Bone Machine is also one of those albums you either love or you hate. I love it. Now we're nearing my top 5. Next up, it's Frank's Wild Years, which I could have added this a little bit higher up. Hang On St. Christopher, it's a fantastic opening. There are a couple of songs on this album which I can manage without, if I can say as easy as that. But it is a near masterpiece. At times it is a masterpiece. So it's a good album. It's some people's all-time favorite Tom Waits album, and I get it. So we're in the top 5, and you guessed right, my number 5 is Rain Dogs, which is sort of similar in a way to Frank's Wild Years. I consider both Rain Dogs, Trombone Fish, and Frank's Wild Years. It's a trilogy. For me, it sounds like a trilogy. But we're talking about Rain Dogs, and this is a masterpiece. There's no doubt about it. Singapore, Clap Hands, Jockey Full of Bourbon, Rain Dogs. Everything here is fantastic. We move on. My fourth favorite Tom Waits album, it is his latest, Bad As Me, which was released, I believe, in 2011. And this is, in a way, it isn't a best of Tom Waits, but if you know the album, you'll understand what I'm saying. Here he kind of mixes up everything he has been doing in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth, and just made a hell of an album. He gets people from Primus to add some instruments on some songs, and I don't need to name a single song because this is an album I love from start to finish. Alright? Some might be surprised, others not. My third place goes to Real Gone. And again, this is an album like Bad As Me, where he kind of throws everything in the pot, and it works. It really, really works. Again, it features members from Primus and other musicians. Larry Taylor is all around it. Brain from Primus is on it. Les Claypool is on it. To me, this is also a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. I haven't heard the remixed version, which supposedly is a little bit cleaner. And the reason I haven't heard it is that I like the muddiness and the rawness of this original mix. So yeah. And so, number 2. And this is really hard for me, because both of these could be number 1. Swordfish Trombones, the album everyone should at least check out once in their lifetime. From start to finish, it's a fantastic journey. We're going underground, we're going to the shore leave, we visit Dave the Butcher. In the Neighborhood is a fantastic song, and more of a ballad, a beautiful song. So what is there to say about this album that haven't been said, besides it's a masterpiece and you should check it out? And there can only be one. There can only be one. Yes, it's Mule Variations from 2000 or 2001, maybe 99. Hang on, St. Christopher. 1999. Mule Variation. Maybe this was seen as his big comeback album after too much avant-garde and crazy stuff with Black Rider and those albums. But again, every song here is great. Big in Japan, Low Side of the Road, Hold On, Get Behind the Mule, House Where Nobody Lives, Cold Water, Pony, What's He Building in There? What's he building in there? What the hell is he building in there? And so forth. A weird fucking song. Black Market Baby, Eyeball Kid, Picture in Frame, Chocolate Jesus, Georgia Lee, Filipino Box Spring Hog, Take It With Me, and Come Up to the House. So yes, Mule Variation, a masterpiece. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you also disagree with my ranking. So feel free to leave your ranking in the comments below, and have a nice day.